been.
Where did you dig up that old fossil?
Going into Toshi Station to pick up some power converters.
That's no move.
We're all fine here now, thank you. How are you?
Welcome to the Star Wars Nerds Podcast. I'm Dan Badabunker.
And I'm Kenton Larson.
And of course, we have another episode of the Book of Boba Fett to dissect. I had to watch it twice. There was just so much that happened.
I did
there,
too.
Kenton. Yeah,
I watched it twice as well.
Overall thoughts of the episode before we dig into spoilers.
I have something to start with. I'm glad. Thank you for asking, and then I'll ask you the same question when I'm done. But I have noticed there's folks online who kind of aren't enjoying the pacing. Maybe there's certain element, and I would also say, I wouldn't also say that. I would say I do like The Mandalorian more, but that's the highest bar you could possibly have.
Yeah.
But what I think is going on the Book of Boba Fett, and I think why maybe particularly young viewers are kind of like not getting it, is because I really think, and this week more than ever, I thought of it as a throwback to 1970s television. I think that's what we're seeing. You know, Kung Fu, where every episode was like, get out of our bar. And he's like, I'm a peaceful man. I don't want any trouble. And they're like, we told you, we don't want your kind in here. And he's like, no, but I'm humble and gentle. And then ultimately he has to kick everyone's ass in the bar. I think what we're seeing over the course of these episodes is I'm a peaceful man. I'm going to rule with respect. I'm not a bad person anymore. I'm a good person. Let's not go down that path. Like, people who are angry that Boba Fett is a nicer guy now, I think that this can only end one way. And that's with Boba Fett going, well, I tried to tell you that I'm a peaceful man. I tried to tell you I'm respectful. But now I have no choice but to kick all your asses. And I think that's likely what we're going to see over the slow burn. Now go ahead, Dan. How about you?
But for the bad guys though, he's still going to kill. He will kill the bad guy. He will. You're right.
Yeah.
And he will be hard. Like, he will be like the Boba Fett that we know. Or, I mean, we don't really know him, but the Boba Fett we think we know, the one. And that's, right, I guess, why people are upset, because they think that he should be meaner. But we really had no indication of his personality in the previous films or any previous version of it. He just kind of says a few lines and that's it, right? So they can really. He's a blank. Changed. Yes, he's changed. You're right. The experience in the Sarlacc coming out with the Sand People has all changed him, and he is a blank slate, kind of like they can make him whatever they want him to be. And I like what they're making him. I like this character they're building here.
Me too.
He is very nice. He's very plain spoken, which I like. Funny though, has a wit and can make jokes and cracks jokes every once in a while. So we jump into this episode. Oh yeah, and one thing I note is that we both were right about something. We're both wrong about something.
That's
so that
right.
was cool. I like being validated. So that was awesome.
I know where you're going with that. Yeah, I know where you're going with that. I've got my notes in front of me. I took notes when we looked at we rewatched the trilogy, and I haven't really been doing it with Book of Boba Fett, but it's like every time we finish the podcast, I'm like, son of a bitch, I think of something else that I was going to say. And then some of my predictions come true. Some of them are ridiculous, but I'm like, that should have been in the last episode. That should have been, I should have said that, like, makes me angry. Yeah. So I'm going to try to take notes, and it's always like a fine balance between reading your notes, and which is boring, and having a conversation. So
the notes are just to jog my memory, really. That's just,
me too,
to make me think of what we're going to say. So before we get into all that stuff that I was hinting at, let's start at the beginning. Of course, we start this episode with Boba and Fennec are receiving a briefing from the droid, from their whatever he is
88.
Again. Yeah, sorry, I always forget. 88.
And he's a recurring character. Yes. He's not, it wasn't a look, it's 88. It's he has a role in every episode, and I love it.
He's a regular. Yeah. He's a regular for sure. He's got employment for at least a few more episodes. So yeah, for sure. And then he is there. So they have this briefing, and it's very useful information. I kind of wish we'd had it sooner. I kind of wish we'd had this at the beginning, maybe last episode, so that we could get a sense of but I guess it's fine. It's not like, a lot happened in the last episode, and they really are cramming a lot into, this one was only 36 minutes or something, and it felt like a lot of stuff happened.
Lots.
so we have them, he gives them the rundown of all the gangs and how it's all split up. And then we kind of get the sense of what happened after. They call it the sail barge disaster, which I love the phrasing. It's the sail barge disaster of 1986 or 1983, whenever the movie came out.
I just want to add to what you just said. And that is, I wrote it down because I'm like, I'll never remember this. Trandoshans, Aqualish, and Clatoonians, I believe, are the three rival gangs.
Yeah.
Which I like. I like that. You're right. Thank you, 8D8, for breaking that down for us.
And a map and everything, a holographic map, and it was like a great briefing.
It was a wonderful PowerPoint presentation that he provided for us. So I like that. I'll just one thing before we get to the surprise appearance of someone famous, but there's something over Boba's throne. And it looks like it's a weight set. It looks like it's a set of free weights.
I got it up here. I'll bring it up. Hold on.
It looks like my cousin's basement in 1976 or something.
Is this the scene where he's talking to the person or in the throne room, right?
88. Yeah.
Oh, 88.
And over his throne, over Boba's throne is something, and it's like a weight set. It looks like a weight set to me, like the weights that you lift off the.
Well, he could be working. He might have a very strict workout regimen, right? Like he's got to keep in shape, or is that what the Bacta's for? He does these Bacta baths pretty regularly, or they're just for flashback reasons. That's the only reason. Maybe something different. He thinks of something different when he lifts the weights. Maybe he has different flashbacks. Yeah, I don't know what that is. It does look like weights. You're right. I don't know.
So I'm just throwing it out there. I don't think we saw that in Boba's.
No, he's making himself at home. Like this is now his home. So he's like, and as we later found out, he invites more guests to stay in his home, and he's bringing in, he's widening his influence and expanding his gang. But yeah, we get into the first kind of one of your subjects is here to see you, and it is of course Stephen Root, who
Jimmy James from News Radio,
and
Milo
pretty much
from Office Space.
I was gonna say this pretty much makes him in everything. Like he's in
everything.
Everything.
And sometimes I noticed that when I saw him, I went Jimmy John's, and I remembered that's a sandwich chain. He actually played Jimmy James on News Radio. So Jimmy John's just made me hangry. It made me hungry for a BLT sandwich. Yeah. But then I remembered his real name on News Radio, and I'm always delighted by his appearance in anything. In Barry, he's in Barry as well.
Oh, he's so good in Barry, but he's got a regular role in Barry. Like his cameos are just love them. Like he just shows up in the most random places. Oh, brother, where art thou? That was a brilliant performance. And he's again brilliant in this performance. And he's so good. So he's got great lines. Oh, he's also the man in the high castle. We can't forget he's the man in the high castle. That's the best one. I think that was a great show.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
But anyway, so he shows up to complain about these ruffians who are stealing his water. He's a watermonger on the streets of Mos Espa. That's a great term, watermonger. So he takes the water from basically from Luke's uncle and aunt, right? Who they farm the water from the air, I guess is the idea. They have the moisture evaporators, and then he buys it from them and then sells it in the town for people to buy. And he has this gang who've been bugging him, and he led the lines, "I was embarrassed on your behalf," or like I was angry. What does he say? I was angry on your behalf, or embarrassed, or something like that.
Right, something like that, and no one respects you. Like for a watermonger, he has an outsized view, and I agree with 8D8. I think Boba needed to torture him right there after that flagrant disrespect.
Oh, sure.
And later in the episode, we'll get to it, but then we see some water wasted later in the episode, and we're like, do you know the value of what you just did on the basis of what the watermonger just told us?
Right.
Do you realize?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that was interesting. And there was one line I thought was interesting when he started getting into and he said, I grew up, like we got the line from Boba Fett, I grew up near around water. Like he grew up on what's it called? Camino, right? So he had water around, and then we had a reference to Tatooine before it did have oceans at one time. So that's a hint, I think, to what other stuff. We're going to find more stuff under the sand at some point. Like I think there's lots to be had if they're going to continue the series in any form, even if it doesn't continue in this series. Maybe if it's a book or something like that, then they can have stories and have them finding things in Tatooine.
And Jimmy James even I'm going to call him Jimmy James. Jimmy James even says, it's quite an interesting history, and then they cut him off. And I was like, oh, yes. I was actually interested.
Yes. They'll get into it. I know they'll get into it. And I mean, you did mention Milton from Office Space. That is also one of his great.
Did I call him Milton? I might have got his name wrong when I just said it. Milo, did I say? I think I might have said Milo. I was thinking of the Descendants. Milo Goes to College.
Absolutely.
Sorry,
great.
Milton.
Yep. So Boba and Fennec go to check it out. They go and investigate. They find these young, attractive British punks with shiny scooters and robot arms and robot attachments, so they're like cyborgs. Which I thought, the way that Jimmy John was talking about it was I thought they were going to be ugly and like a Terminator kind of a thing, not like super cute and like stylish with a nice jacket and their hair's perfect and all that stuff. So we know they're going to be regular characters. If they're putting that much effort into the look, they're going to be in this for a while.
I thought maybe they were just from the local high school in a production of the Warriors musical. And I was waiting for them to break out like, Warriors come out and play, Warriors come out and play. And Boba Fett would be like, stop that singing. I told you, no singing. Well, I'm around here, no singing. That's what I really thought they looked like a musical ensemble. I thought we were going to see Star Wars the musical for a second.
Very colorful scooters. That helps as well. That was,
They bought them from the local Honda dealership. They're all different colors. They're new. Yes. They're flashy.
Yes.
I want to see the dealership. Watto probably runs the dealership.
I bet you he does, because it is. Yes, it is. As we learned on Twitter, somebody corrected us and let us know that this is the same town where Watto was and Anakin during the Phantom Menace. So that is
Mos
true.
Espa.
Yeah, Mos Espa.
And Mos Espa. Talk about a gorgeous night shot of Mos Espa. That one shot, I just love that. I watched that a few times because it was so nicely done.
Exactly. Yeah, it's great. And so he approaches these guys and then ends up again recruiting them. He just can win anybody over. He's so good at this. He basically ends up saying, come work for me if you don't have work. And so they all come work for him. Now we have one last encounter with the watermonger, and he comes out and complains because he's not punishing them for stealing his water. We have a discussion about the price of water. He says, lower your prices, take this 500. That's it. Like basically tough or whatever. If you don't like it, go to Mos Eisley, he says. I think we're gonna that's not the last we're gonna see of Stephen Root. The look on his face was like, I think he might be back.
Oh yeah, and I think what we're seeing is everybody in Tatooine is a double dealer. Like you can't really trust anybody in.
Well, the laws, it's the Wild West, right? The law is fuzzy. Like the Republic does not have, and this is like right at the fall of the Empire, right? So this is like we saw the shot of them putting the stormtrooper helmets on spikes that we ended up we see it at the beginning of the Mandalorian, but this is right at the fall. So everything's chaos. Nobody's keeping track of anything. They talk about then there's a scene later where he talks about protection being a part of business. So these business people are used to playing protection which is a common thing that mobs do. Saying pay us or we're going to destroy your business. That's what protection is, by the way. Pay us or we're going to destroy your business. That's what that means. And they say we're paying protection to this people. We don't want to pay for it twice. But that's just normal, the way things are done in Tatooine. Like crime is the way things are. So I guess Boba's trying to change that, or he's at least trying to make it more legitimate, right? Legitimate crime as opposed to like crime against laws that make no sense. It seems like, right? Like, oh, it's okay to steal water if it's too expensive. Like that's okay, I don't know.
That scene actually reminded me of the scene from The Sopranos where the two wise guys go into Starbucks and try to shake down Starbucks for protection money. And the guy's like, guys, I got to report to head office. If there's one penny missing, I'm going to get fired. I can't give you protection money. And they're like, God, what? Like, remember the good old days when you could run a good protection racket in town, and now we can't do it anymore. And I sort of was like, Stephen Root was that guy. It's like, it's kind of like, God, like this place is going to the dogs now that you can't run a good. But I also want to point out that the girl in the gang is Sophie Thatcher from the TV show Yellow Jackets, which is a great show. The finale's coming up this week, and she's great in that show. And when she spoke in Book of Boba Fett, I was like, oh, she's British. And then I looked it up online. And it's like, no, she's American. So she's an American actor she's putting on a British accent for her role on Tatooine. And I find that interesting. Like,
that's not usually. It usually goes the other way, right? Usually it's the British actors doing the American accent. So I mean, and I think that eventually I'm going to have to let the accent thing go, Kenton. I was having a conversation about accents. I can't remember what we were talking about, but it was like, accents just exist in the Star Wars universe. This is just part of it. British, Australian, English, all kinds of stuff. So I'm just gonna have to, not complain about all the clones having Australian accents anymore. But yeah, no, and they were, I looked at all these new characters and thought, wow, look at all these new figures to collect. Like we're of course gonna have figures.
If only there were some. If only there were some figures from this show.
Well, they'll get to it in about 2 years. when everybody's forgotten about it, then they'll get to it. And then he goes back into a flashback. So we get another flashback. It always starts with Kamino. Every flashback starts with that shot of him watching his dad fly away. So why do you think we're starting with that shot?
I was going to ask you the same thing because we've revisited that shot twice.
Yeah.
And this time we saw a little bit more, but it just makes me think there's something bigger going on there that we don't understand. Like
I thought about
happening there that we're unaware of, and it makes me think that one day on another Boba Fett show, or maybe this one, we will return to Kamino.
Right. Yes, I think so. Or like next season or something, we'll learn more about his childhood. But he does refer to growing up around water, and that did make me think of maybe at one time Tatooine was like Kamino. Like that reference that he makes is like there was once covered in water. Like maybe it was an ocean planet, right? And then something happened to dry it up, and maybe there's like an overlying message of environmental disaster here, and that's it'll be less subtle than Don't Look Up. So
I didn't watch that. I didn't watch it.
Oh man,
I'm hearing bad things.
Yeah, well, I suspect we'll get into it when we talk about the Oscars because I suspect he'll be nominated. But anyway, so.
And while we're talking about unrelated stuff, I hate Dexter. All right, I got it out of my system.
Good
All right,
for you.
I feel much better. Go ahead.
Great. Now, of course, this is where I was right. So we get the flashback, and the flashback is of him, of course, going back. He's with the tribe. He's part of the tribe now, and this is when he goes off and tries to work out a protection racket for the Sand People. But he sees it as being legitimate. Like he sees it as being they're paying rent or something like that. Not just he calls it protection because he knows the language of it. Like he's been a part of the criminal underworld, so he knows that that's what these people will understand. This is where he says we're not going to pay for 2 people to do protection, so one of you has to go. And he says, "Okay, I'll take him out," basically. And then he gets back and finds that they've pulled an Uncle Owen Amperu on it, and the whole camp is trashed. Everyone is dead. The people who they took out on the train has now killed the rest of his tribe.
That I never thought that we'd feel so sad for Sand People. That was I remember Anakin. They're animals. I slaughtered them or whatever. Like that's a callback to that.
Yeah.
And it was very sad. And I think I felt very sad about. I actually wanted what I suggested last time was he's going to have his back against the wall, and the Tusken Raiders come to his rescue or to his defense or to help him out. And so that really that bummed me out. And especially after he swings the deal where they get the payment from the train that's going through.
And it looks like all he has to do, like it really didn't look like he had to do much to solve that problem. He said, okay, I'm going to take out, there's still some biker gang left. I got to take out the rest of this biker gang, and that's it. And then he starts coming back and he sees the smoke, and we build up to it. And then and I noticed the trend, and this is something they do a lot. They'll leave the bantha way back so that I guess so they can't get spotted over the dune, and they'll kind of peek over the dune to see what's up ahead. And that's when he discovers it. And it was very, very sad. And so, then we spend the rest of this episode is that when we switch back to the future, right?
He wakes up, and the worst way to wake up is to have a Wookiee throwing you around the room, tossing you around. And he's got the angry Wookiee from the last episode, the mean, unleashed Wookiee who's protecting the Hutts or whatever. He's their muscle. And he just starts chucking him around the room.
And it was it the one you were talking about? Is it the one previously established in other canon?
Yes.
Okay.
I can't remember its name.
No, I can't remember. They said his name a few times. Yeah, they said it a few times.
Something like that.
I should have watched. I got to watch with the subtitles, and then I can get the spelling of the name. So I'll do that next time.
I do have this. I do have the subtitles on when I watch it, but then it takes the eyes away from
from the
other
faces,
stuff
right?
that you're watching. That's right.
Yeah.
So you kind of you definitely have to watch it twice when you do that.
Yeah.
So there's pros and cons to having the subtitles.
So a great fight scene between the two of them. I mean, Boba gets like pulled out of the tank and he's like just soaking wet and covered in Bacta, and then the Wookiee starts throwing him around. Almost gets him, seemingly almost gets him, until the gang comes to his rescue. Right, that girl, Sophie Turner. You said Sophie.
Sophie Thatcher. Sorry, I always want to say Sophie Tucker. Sorry, Sophie Thatcher.
Okay, yes. Sophie Thatcher. She comes in and stabs them, and then they all have their own cool little weapons, and they're all cool little individual. That's what made me think of the figures. Really, was all the little things they had. I'm like, okay, each one of them is going to come with that little specific thing.
They're Power Rangers without the uniforms on, kind of, or I don't know. Inspector Gadget meets Power Ranger meets.
The color of the bikes definitely. The bikes definitely make me think of Power Rangers. That's true because of all the basic colors of that.
Let's be honest here. That Wookiee could have just killed all of them.
Oh, probably. For sure. Come on.
Because he is a monster. He was an unleashed, insane Wookiee, like to the tune that we've never seen, except maybe when Han Solo was fighting Chewie, but I think Chewie was holding back in that fight.
For sure.
Remember that in Solo?
Yeah.
And I think this was more like, I'm just gonna like rip you limb from limb. And I do think that probably that Wookiee should have done that to one of them, because I think he's just such a terrifying presence. And even the guards couldn't really do much with
no, and I think that, I mean, if I had to explain it, I would say that he was hired. He is a bounty hunter, right? So he was hired, or no, like an assassin, right? He's an assassin,
right?
So he's hired to kill Boba Fett. But once the gang showed up, he kind of backed up and, oh shit, there's a bunch of other people here. I best, what am I going to, like, he wasn't wanting to hurt the rest of them. He just wanted to kill Boba Fett. Maybe. Right. I don't know. That's kind of lame, because you think like he's got to do whatever it takes to get the job done, right? So, kill them all. At the very least, he should have ripped their arms off the droid. Like, let's get someone ripping arms off here. They're very scared to do it now. I know there was a cut scene in like The Force Awakens where someone rips arms off somebody, right?
Yeah, it was Chewie.
Yeah. When they cut it because it was too graphic or whatever, I'm like, it was like they referenced it a couple times in the original trilogy. Let's see that happen. But they do manage to subdue him. They use the old trapdoor again, and you'd think that would be like common knowledge as to anybody looking to scope out or assassinate.
Works every time.
It does.
Works
it really does.
Every time. Yeah, it works every time. And I also like he was hanging there, and she threw out the spike thing at his fingers to make him drop. I was like, that's pretty funny.
Yeah.
That's like a new twist on the old trapdoor.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. So they're showing it to us a different way. And then we get here's where you were right, because we had the Hutts back. I didn't think the Hutts were going to come back until the second season. You're like, no, they'll be back this season. And you were absolutely right. They came back, and they probably gone, like resolve that part of the story seemingly in this scene. But basically they come back after they defeat the Wookiee assassin they sent. They're like, all right, this guy means business. We're just going to back out of here and just say sorry. And
I don't buy it.
You don't buy it?
I don't trust them whatsoever.
Well, of course not. They're Hutts.
I noticed online, most people were like, oh, okay. Like most people bought into absolutely everything they said. And I don't buy into anything they said at all. I think the whole thing is they cannot be trusted. And they will nonetheless, hey, we're leaving. We're too scared. We're going. No way. They
won't even take the Wookiee back, Kenton. They won't even take the Wookiee back. He's like, here you go. He's like, no, keep him. Sell him back to the blah, blah, blah. Like, they're like, we don't want anything to do with it. So they're like saying, we're done. We're out. Boom. Done.
Well, but I liked when they said, okay, and you can have the Wookiee or whatever. And then he's like, you're free. And he frees him. And I like the way the Wookiee kind of jogs off. That cracked me up. I thought it was funny. It's like you're in the middle of a desert. It's like, okay, you can go. And it's like, what do you mean? I could just walk away, or what? Or do I need to run? Like, are you going to shoot me if I just run away? Like, and
there was kind of a wary look in his eyes. Yeah, as he was walking away.
It was just a funny thing that I never expected to see a Wookiee do, which is you're free to go. So like this way, like it's like a Dragon's Den, where it's like wrong door. Like, is it this door? No. You got to go that way. It's like, oh, okay, this way? No, that way. So I was waiting for that to happen. It was funny, but you're right. There was something much larger in that scene.
Danny Trejo.
Machete, don't text. Machete, don't text. And Machete we thought Rancor Keeper was a guy. We thought Rancor Keeper was a figure.
He was.
Rancor Keeper is an occupation that anybody can apply for, apparently.
There's probably a program somewhere that teaches it.
Yeah. Machete is a Rancor Keeper, and he has a Rancor tied down, a depressed Rancor, if he can be believed, laid down on the hovercraft.
Yeah.
And so there he is. We got a new Rancor.
There we go. We got a new one.
Is that Smoochy or whatever?
No, because that was the one that Jabba had before. And this is a younger one. He said it's a calf, which means it's a female, I think, but that means it's still a child. It's not fully mature. It's juvenile. And then we learned that, and we learned lots about the Rancor Keepers. And I love what I love about it. And he talks about how they're very emotional creatures. They bond with the first human they see, and they're like they have such a close bond with their keeper. And that all comes from the one shot of that Rancor Keeper in the original movie, Return of the Jedi, bawling after the Rancor dies. So after the scene. What's his name?
Malakili, the Rancor Keeper. Okay. Malakili.
and just think about it, because after this scene, like, Luke Skywalker has just fought this horrific creature that's trying to kill him, and it's so scary, and you're like, oh my God, Luke's not going to do it. He doesn't have his lightsaber. He can't do anything. And he does it, and he slams the gate down. Whew. And then you see this guy crying. You're like, what's with that guy? Like, what's he, like that always kind of struck me as a kid when you see that guy crying. But from that one choice of having the guy cry, they've developed this whole idea of a Rancor Keeper being very, very close to the Rancor. And then, so now we have this idea of Boba Fett riding a Rancor. And I guarantee you that there's already a million pieces of fan art on the internet depicting that, because we're going to get that probably in the next episode, I would assume. Right?
Yeah. Oh, hey, well, maybe not. I think we need, I don't know. I think that they're going to save that up. I think. Okay. They've set the scene, but I'm going to say something else here that I'm not seeing anybody saying, which is, I don't believe anything that Machete said to Boba Fett, because, well, when Boba Fett leaves, he's like, don't worry, he'll be back, and you'll get your meal when you eat him. That's basically what.
I took that as meaning that the Rancor was sad because he was leaving. He was sad that his owner was leaving. My cat does that.
That is one interpretation. My interpretation is no. This is the Hutts gave him this present with the intent.
It's a trap. Okay.
That the Rancor Keeper, Machete, who doesn't text, will kill him. Will kill Boba.
You make that joke, but I've never seen Machete, so I don't know.
It's the best line from Machete. Okay. She's like, didn't you get my text? Machete don't text. That's it. And he doesn't. He doesn't text.
Well, and neither
does the Rancor Keeper.
Danny Trejo usually plays such wholesome roles. Like, what makes you think that he's going to be a bad guy?
He's bad. The Rancor, I also think, is either a weapon of the Rancor Keeper, or the Rancor is in on it. He has already bonded with Machete. Okay, so they're already in on it. The only thing that would dispute that is the Rancor, when the Rancor opens his eyes and sees Boba Fett standing there, and they were like, "Oh, he's now bonded with him." Maybe he has. Maybe that could be true. Yeah. I don't think so, though.
It was a good shot, though. I like that shot of him sitting there without his mask on. Like, he looks, that whole thing without the mask, he looks good.
Yeah, I agree, but I do not take any of that at face value.
All right.
And I know I'm in the minority. Hey, we'll find out. And I do think we will see Boba Fett riding the Rancor. Like, they've set us up for that. I do think ultimately either the Rancor will be tamed and Boba Fett will ride him, like much like the holiday special when he's on the sea monster, or it'll be like it'll be like a bucking bronco. He'll be hanging on to the Rancor, and the Rancor will be doing things that Boba Fett can't control.
Well, I think that is a deliberate reference to he did say, I've read, he says, I've ridden creatures 10 times his size. Like, he has ridden a sea serpent in the holiday special, right? So I think that was a reference to that. Yeah. Now, my question is, now this is trying to change, if it's true, if what, and I believed everything he was saying. I did doubt it.
I don't. Okay. I don't believe any of what he was saying.
Okay. Very much noted. But if you were to, I wrote down here, he was being sincere. So saying it seems like they're trying to change the narrative about Rancors and what we know about them, right? So it's a misunderstood animal. The only time we saw it in the films was in Jabba's palace in Return of the Jedi, but we've seen it a bunch of times in video games. Like, how many Rancors have I killed in Star Wars video games? I kind of feel bad about that now.
They come running at you. What's the one video game where they're hanging out in that opening and it's almost like there's like mountains around it and you're kind of trapped in there, but in the end you can kind of run through it fast. Like if they don't see you, you can get through.
Remember. I
don't remember either, but it's horrible. If they get their hands on you, forget it. Like
the one I remember, the most recent one, of course, is in Fallen Order, and there is a big, like, it's one of the major bosses you fight is the Rancors. So anyway, I like it. I hope we see him writing it. I hope we see, like, and we'll skip ahead to the end. Like, we'll get to the end in a second, but it seems like they're leading towards war or some sort of battle of some kind.
Yeah.
So if we see him, with the Pike Syndicate, right? Yeah. That's where this is going. So they go from that scene. They have to go visit the mayor again, because we learn that the mayor has said that the Pike Syndicate can have Mos Espa. The mayor has given permission. So that's ostensibly why the Hutts want out, because they don't want to mess with the Pikes. They're just like, whatever, we're going to go back to Nal Hutta. They actually just said Hutta. I thought that was wrong. I thought it was Nal Hutta. But I think maybe that's the moon. I don't know. Or maybe that's the system, Hutta system. So then we go back to the mayor's office, and we have, the both of our favorite characters from the mayor's office. We have the clerk and the major domo, and then they stall him out. Same kind of interaction, same funny, clerical comedy. Yes,
weaselly liar, assistant to politician, et cetera, et cetera. And I like that we got our sullen guy with the mullet, like any music store or Blockbuster employee. Sorry, no offense, Dan. No offense, Dan. But any of those sort of like sullen, or maybe now I could say Rexall pharmacy employee.
There you go.
Who's just like, can I help someone? I'm not going to look at this line and say you, because that would be personalizing and humanizing you. So instead, I'll just say, is there someone? Is anyone? Like, next one, please. Next one, please.
Yes. I want now, of course, the next thing is the major domo runs in there, locks the door, and tries to take off. So the mayor takes off, and the major domo, I guess, buys him time. So I think that guy's out of a job. Actually, I think that guy with the mullet is out of a job. I want Boba to hire him as his reception over at Jabba's palace. He should really be set up a desk there and set up and give him the runaround, just like he does at the mayor's office. That would just be so valuable.
I noticed that the guy with the mullet is left untouched and really just keeps going on about his work, even when whatever his work is.
Yes.
Wasting time as they burst through the door. He doesn't really seem to do anything or even react to it in any way. And I thought maybe, and every show, and I actually tweeted this a little while ago, every show has got a main character going, I need to talk to the boss. And then someone's like, no, the boss is busy. And they're like, oh, really? And they just walk in and open the door. That's every single show. It's Curb Your Enthusiasm. It's Succession. It doesn't matter. Every show has that scene. So I think maybe the guy with the mullet, the customer service rep, has just like seen this so much. Maybe he watches other TV shows where it happens. But he's not fazed by people like, and by the way, shooting a door in Star Wars, let's just say it opens the door, it closes the door, it makes the door half closed, whatever it is you want the door to do. You make the wish while you take the shot, and then that's what the door does, because we've seen everything.
Right, and you think the easiest way, if you want the door to stay closed, the easiest thing to do is make a safety cutoff that if the panel gets blasted, it just stays closed. Why would it open? Like that, and that goes back to the original. I think the idea in the original movie was that it malfunctions, so then the safety would make it open so people could get out.
Right.
I think that's the idea behind that. But whatever.
It's a wish that your heart makes when you take the shot.
Now, this does lead into a nice car chase scene, which was a lot of fun, or so should I say scooter chase scene.
It's hilarious, a hilarious slow speeds chase through the streets of Mos Espa. It cracked me up. And because, Dan, it's one of my favorite things happens in the chase. Did you notice? The Honda scooters come out, sponsored by Honda. The chase, it's not the fastest chase we've ever seen, but how fast can you go in this?
Well, they're scooters, right? Like, come on.
Yeah, you can't go that fast. And we're taken through droids. We hit a few droids. No respect for droids. A rickshaw. There's a rickshaw. There's a painting of Jabba. The classic trope The classic, hilarious, that classic trope of the workers moving something
across the street. Usually it's a painted glass, but this is a painting. Yeah.
And we end with my all-time favorite fruit cart. And there's fruit flying everywhere. And I was like, what a great James Bond tribute. Fruit flying everywhere. I was like, good, thank God. Now I can watch this episode and scream fruit cart right before he hits the thing.
That's awesome.
I love it.
And yeah, so that's a very good point. I'm sure that's all deliberate. They're just kind of like saying, what else can we put in here? What else can we have fun with? I like the speeder they're chasing. The Majordomo speeder was a very retro looking speeder. It reminded me of this speeder from Solo. Yeah. I have the book here, right? We have this, and Pablo told us when Pablo Hidalgo was here for FanQuest, he told us that it was called the M68. He named it that because it looks like a 68 Mustang or something like that. So I wonder if this speeder has a similar name. I don't know if they're going to come out with a visual guide to Book of Boba Fett. They probably will at some point, but
it might be the same speeder. It might be.
That's probably what it is. Like when they do that kind of stuff, it's usually a nod to other things. And if you look at the timing, like that was a pretty beat up speed. It wasn't new. Yeah. Right, it was older, but I think it's meant to be like an older model kind of thing. So, and
the guy driving it is useless, as we know, and so it's not going to be. This is not going to be. We get to see the cyborgs use some of their enhancements on the thing, including my favorite. Like, why would you want that enhancement? The foot that extends down. It's like, you can get any cyborg enhancement, but I want the one that allows my foot to extend, to telescope a little bit, so I can kick down speeders when I'm chasing them. So I thought that was funny. I thought the chase was intended to be funny, to tell you the truth.
I think it was too. I think it was. It was not like oh my God, like it was not like worried about anybody's lives. So I think it was meant to be like a fun chase scene through the town, and that's it. Right?
Yeah. I don't think it was supposed to be like a pod race. I've seen some people online who are like, that chase was terrible. I was like, no, it's supposed to be funny. And I think the key reason we know it's supposed to be funny is the Jabba painting being carried out across the street.
Right. Because it's so hilarious. Almost every one of those things means that. And again, comparing it to Solo, and it's a similar chase scene in Solo when he's being chased by the people at the beginning there, the police at the beginning. But that is, I think, was intended to be funny, but is not funny. Like that was, we've already talked about how we don't like those opening scenes because it's like, I don't know, it doesn't convey. Nothing was funny about it, right? It just did not convey that. So then they catch him. Oh, and the other thing I want to say about it is they do have this like quick shot of a protocol droid, not C-3PO, but a protocol droid. Yeah. And I just, part of me wondered if that was Anthony Daniels in the costume because he moves a lot like C-3PO, but probably not. They would make him more high profile than that, I think.
I think he's starting also to get a little bit older. I don't think they can cram him into that stuff anymore. Like it's, you get to an age where I think maybe you're just supplying the voice at a certain point, but it wasn't C-3PO. They make it clear by providing some droid noises coming out of him.
And he's got like face paint on or something, which is a cool idea. Yeah. Again, I like that they take these things that we're familiar with and change them a little bit or make them a little bit. We can get to see how this used universe of Star Wars is used in different parts in different times, right? So that's really a lot of fun. And that's pretty much it. We had this weird kind of shot of like this, and I didn't know what this was. Like you see this giant, here's the kitty joining me. You see this giant ship landing, and then this, I guess, the Pike Syndicate coming out, and then you see just one of the scooters just drive off to tell Boba Fett that they're here. But why did we have to make that big of a deal? Like, I didn't really get a sense of like, like I'm not really worried about these Pike Syndicate guys, right?
I'm not at all worried about them. I'm worried about whoever Mr. Big is that's telling them what to do, Mr. or Mrs. Big or Ms. Big. I'm worried. I'm more worried about whoever is calling the shots from above than I am. And I do think it'll be someone we know from Star Wars. I don't know who. I have a few ideas, but I don't know who. I also there's just only one thing that I forgot to mention. I didn't put it into my notes, but the second time I saw it, I noticed it. And that is in the scene, the stormtrooper helmets are on the Pikes. In that scene, in the distance, you see Amy Sedaris crossing the street with the pit droids.
Oh, that's nice.
Did you see that?
No, I didn't. I'll have to go back and watch it.
It's actually, once you're like, it's there. When you watch it, it's like, it's so clearly Amy Sedaris, or supposed to be Amy Sedaris.
Well, yeah.
With 3 pit droids walking behind her. I was like, are we going to get are we going to see her in the next episode or something? Or is that just like a shout out to the Mandalorian?
Well, it could be. I mean, it could actually be a shot from the Mandalorian for all we know. Like those heads on spikes, you know, they basically just showed one guy putting one head on the thing and that was it. And then they were just as is. So I think, yeah, we could definitely, we could see her. That would be fun. I mean, that's a fun character. We like her. And, I think it just established that she's been there the whole time. Like she's always been in Mos Eisley, right? She's probably there when Luke was there, right? She's always been part of the community.
I'm looking forward to some Back to the Future style episodes where Amy Sedaris like goes to the Lars homestead. And I should have mentioned also in the race, a little red astromech droid like goes off, I think to the right, and I think it's R5D4.
Oh, nice.
With the bad motivator. I think that I maybe. Or it's a droid that looks like him.
Okay. Well, I mean, but that's why they put these things in there, right? Like those are the things people will see and notice when they watch it over and over again, and that's fine. That's part of the fun in watching this. So that's it. And then we end with like we're preparing for war, and then they cut to black. And so basically, I guess he's going to go up against the Pike. So we have this is the third episode. There are 7 episodes. So we have 4 more episodes. Like honestly, if we're gonna find out who the Mr. Big is, it's gonna be he'll go up against the Pikes in the next episode, and then from there we'll find out who the next person is, right? So we will probably see him go up against the Pikes this episode, or the next one coming up. I mean,
at first I thought it had to be Darth Maul, but Darth Maul is dead at this point. I keep getting mixed up with the timeline on this particular stuff because it's so Tatooine heavy.
Yeah,
I keep thinking of A New Hope, but it's not. It's after that. It's after Return of the Jedi.
He was even dead before A New Hope, though. I think he died between the 3 and 4. So yeah,
right. So that's for the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. It's not for or if at all, it's not for this series. So it's going to be somebody from the crime world. And
Prince Caesar.
Oh, Prince Caesar. Oh my God. Prince Caesar. What I'll be damned if that guy ever shows up in a live action. I don't think that's gonna happen. Like Dash Rendar. No.
Oh no, but Dash Rendar, yeah, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people would love to see those characters come to life in some way. I mean, I know they've had books, they've had comics, all that stuff. I mean, people say this is canon, that isn't, but to me it's canon if it's live action. Like that really makes it Star Wars, and so that would be great to see. But do you have any other thoughts about the episode? Final thoughts?
No, that I liked it. I enjoyed the episode. I liked the slow burn and the pacing of it. I know it's not for everybody. I know some people don't like that, but for me, I do think they're trying to tap into the throwback of 1970s TV serials. I like it. I hope this isn't the only Boba Fett series that we get. And I really hope that we do get in upcoming seasons. I hope we go to Camino again. I hope the Mace Windu thing gets explored a little bit. I think this is ripe for follow-ups and for other seasons. So I'm interested. I hope it's doing well. I have not looked at anything any in any rating data or anything, or I'm not even aware if anything's been released. But Star Wars fans can complain a lot, and I don't want them to complain this out of existence. Sort of like, that's what happened with Solo. Mm-hmm. I was hoping we'd see follow-up to Solo. So I don't want this to go away. I want them to continue this series or continue it within the Mandalorian or something, because I like it. How about you?
I do. I like the characters. Like I said, I like what Boba Fett's becoming. Fennec is awesome. Like she's just so funny and just so dry and gives the best expressions. I really feel like Min-Na Wen is getting to do what she really wants. Like I've seen her in a bunch of stuff, and she's really having a great time with this role. And yeah, we keep seeing these more celebrities, more people popping up as guest stars throughout. So I'm sure we'll continue to see that. I don't know if there's anybody who could actually surprise me now that we've seen. I mean, Stephen Root is kind of the guy to be in your show. Although I don't think he's done any Marvel stuff yet. So maybe Stephen Root could still do a cameo in Marvel. But yeah, he's done the Star Wars now, so and I can't wait for his figure. Let's have a figure for the Watermonger. That's really what I want, with his bucket of water or something like that.
Watermonger, Rancor Keeper, new Rancor Keeper,
right?
The Wookiee and the 2 huts and one
and all the gang and all the kids and the
and the kids and the scooters.
Yep.
One big diorama.
Yep.
That'll be the next HasLab where you have to fund it, and you and I will be like, come on, we want those, we want that gang, we want the High School Musical.
I want those scooters, damn it. Yeah.
I literally want to own one of those scooters. I don't even want a figure. I want the scooter.
Yeah. So anyway, it's we'll obviously continue to watch it and talk about it and have a blast.
You brought up the action figures before, and as far as I know, there's only one action figure, and that's the deluxe Boba Fett, which looks great. It looks like a great figure. If I saw it, and it's you can remove the helmet, and it's Tamura Morrison the way he looks now, and I was like, that's a great figure. I believe that's. I haven't been to a store since Omicron, so I don't know what's happening, but that's one that I would buy if I saw it. Mm-hmm. And there's certainly lots of characters in this show that are ripe for action figure treatment. But I do think I don't think the action figure business is what it once was. Sadly, I think it appears to slowly be eroding, going away.
Yeah, I think what's become is that the pandemic, of course, forced it online. So it's all happening through websites and ordering and that kind of stuff. So the fun of the hunt isn't really something that happens anymore, unfortunately. I did see somebody unboxing, and that's what I see on TikTok. Like I'm doing stuff and I see unboxing where somebody's like, a package came. It's not like I went to Walmart to find this figure. It's like a package came. Let's unbox it and see what it is, which isn't as exciting to me.
Not exciting.
But I did see someone do that for a Fennec Shand figure. Was that from The Mandalorian, that Fennec figure, or is there one from Boba Fett?
That's an interesting question.
It was a Black Series Fennec. It was like a 6-inch Black Series.
They might have very well done one for
maybe in the US and something, and I didn't see it here.
But the only specific Tamura Morrison figure that I'm aware of is that new deluxe one that they made. But there might be others that I'm unaware of. Like
there certainly will be.
Yeah,
as we go.
I sure hope. I would like that figure, and I like Tamura Morrison so much. It's like I want him to like, hey, keep him going, keep what we got going.
I mean, just the little things like the when he's like scratching the Rancor, right? He's got, is that the spot? Is that the spot? And he's like, I'm busy. He's like right into it. Like it's just so much fun to see it. And again, if I don't care that he used to be badass Boba Fett, this is a fun, new, interesting character in Star Wars, and I'm here for it. I love it.
And I do think he will unleash fury. I do. I just think folks aren't familiar with this method of storytelling. I do think it's kung fu. I do think it's like, no, I'm a simple man. I'm respectful. I'm kind. I'm peaceful. I'm ruled with respect. And then it's like, oh, none of this works. Bang. Here we go.
And it's I wonder if we'll hear that when they'll release like the behind the scenes interviews for this and all that stuff, and it'll be like, we really looked at Kung Fu the series. We'll see all these cuts to Kung Fu.
By the way, that was every series.
Well, I know it's true.
That was the Incredible Hulk. No,
that was every show in the 70s had that formula for sure. Yeah.
I just want to get along with you, and I want next thing you know, Lou Ferrigno is punching everyone in the head, right? Like that's what they understand what the payoff is going to be. And really, the longer you wait for such a payoff, the more exciting and thrilling it is. And they know that. I think that's where we're going with this.
Yes.
I'd be so surprised if this ends with Boba Fett at a health spa with his feet in the water and like, well, it turns out I didn't have to kick anyone's ass. Isn't life a dream or whatever? It's like, no, he's on a beach with Steve Martin and Michael Caine. Well, I
think it's got to walk in. Like we have to see him walk. Michael Caine. Oh my God. We have to see him walk into the Pike Syndicate wherever they happen to be. They're going to set up somewhere and take him out, and then because he's got to get revenge for his tribe being. I guess. Oh, that would have happened before. Like we still have stuff in the flashback to happen, right?
Right.
Like, he has to get back to that. Sorry, I'm confusing the two, and I think they are related because I think they still have those weird masks, but.
He's got to murder the motorcycle gang.
Right, the motorcycle gang for killing his tribe. But I think the Pike gang is related somehow. No?
Yeah, they might be in cahoots. I mean, who knows? They might all come together. It might not. We might see the finale of both stories at the same time. We might. Okay. But it's I like both stories. I wanted the Sand People to be around a bit longer. That's my only mild. And we did see, and it kind of like we thought, there's less of the flashback in this episode, and we might see that happen as far as like the rest of this series goes. But hopefully, we do still see, like we still have to. You're right. They absolutely have to bring up to that point where we saw him at the beginning of the in the Mandalorian, and so that's all we have to do. Yeah. Oh, I'm excited for and hey, we're next week is already episode 4 of 7, right?
Yeah.
That's good. That's insane. Like we're We're halfway there. Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, that's going to do it for this episode of the Star Wars Nerds. I'm Dan Vadabonker.
I'm Kenton Larson. Don't let the Force hit you in the ass.
TK421, you copy?
Now I am the master.